You think you're in control of your life, but look closely at your reactions. Someone says something you don't like, and your mood shifts instantly. A small inconvenience happens, and your patience disappears. One message, one comment, one moment, and suddenly you're not calm anymore. You react, not because you chose to, but because something inside you moved faster than your awareness. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of your problems don't come from what happens to you. They come from how quickly you react to it. Think about that for a second. How many situations in your life escalated, not because they had to, but because you responded without thinking? How many times did one reaction lead to another, until something small turned into something you couldn't take back? You tell yourself it's normal, that anyone would react that way. But what if that's the very thing keeping you stuck? What if the real power you're missing is not in what you do, but in what you choose not to do? Reacting feels natural. It feels immediate, honest, even justified. When something bothers you, your first instinct is to respond, to defend yourself, to prove a point, to release whatever you're feeling in that moment. And for a brief second, it feels right. But then comes the part no one talks about: the regret. The conversations you wish you handled differently. The words you wish you could take back. The tension that didn't need to exist, but now does. Reacting doesn't just affect one moment. It shapes your relationships. It influences how people see you. It creates patterns that slowly define your life. You become someone who is easily triggered, someone who is controlled by circumstances instead of grounded in control. And the worst part is, you don't even notice it happening. It becomes your default. You react before you think. You speak before you understand. You act before you decide. And over time, this creates a life that feels unstable, not because life is chaotic, but because your responses are. There's a moment most people recognize, right after you react, when everything goes quiet again, and you replay what just happened in your head. You think about what you said, how you said it, the way the other person looked at you afterward, and something inside you knows that wasn't your best self. Maybe it was a small argument that didn't need to happen. Maybe it was a comment that came out harsher than you intended. Maybe it was anger, frustration, or even silence when you should have spoken. And now it lingers, not because the situation was big, but because your reaction made it bigger. You try to justify it. You tell yourself they deserved it. But deep down you know the truth. You didn't respond with clarity. You reacted with emotion. And that gap between who you want to be and how you actually behave in the moment starts to feel frustrating, because you know you're capable of more control. You just don't seem to have it when it matters most. Your mind is built to react. Long before logic, before reasoning, before calm thinking, your brain was designed for speed, to protect you, to respond instantly, to keep you safe. So when something feels like a threat, even emotionally, your system reacts automatically, not because it's right, but because it's fast. A tone of voice, a memory it reminds you of, and suddenly, your reaction is already happening before you're aware of it. This is why you say things you didn't plan to say. Why you act in ways that don't match who you believe you are. Because in that moment, you're not choosing, you're reacting. And the more you repeat this pattern, the stronger it becomes, until reacting feels like your personality, when in reality, it's just a habit. A habit that was never questioned, a habit that can be changed. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology. Epictetus taught a simple but powerful idea. It's not what happens to you that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. In other words, the event itself is neutral. It's your interpretation that creates the reaction. Someone speaks harshly, that's just an event. But the meaning you attach to it, that's where emotion begins. The Stoics didn't try to control the world. They focused on controlling their response to it, because they understood something most people ignore. Between what happens and what you do next, there is a space, and in that space is your power. That space is small, so small that most people never notice it. It exists for only a moment, right between impulse and action, the instant before you speak, the second before you react. And if you miss it, your reaction takes over. But if you catch it, everything changes. Because in that gap, you're no longer controlled by habit. You're choosing, you're aware, you're deciding how to respond instead of letting your emotions decide for you. This is the art of not reacting. Not suppression, not pretending you don't feel anything, but creating just enough space to respond with intention instead of impulse. And that one shift can change the direction of your entire life. The first step is simple, but not easy. You have to start noticing, not after you react, but during. When you feel that rise of emotion, that tension in your body, that urge to respond immediately, that's your signal. That's the moment where the gap appears. And instead of moving instantly, you pause, even for a second. You don't need a perfect response. You just need to slow down enough to avoid the automatic one. Because awareness doesn't remove emotion. It gives you distance from it. And in that distance, you regain control. Start with something small. The next time you feel triggered, don't react immediately. Take one breath, just one. It sounds simple, but it interrupts the pattern. It creates space. Then ask yourself a quiet question. Is this worth reacting to? Most of the time it isn't. If it is, respond slowly. Lower your tone. Choose your words. If it's not, let it pass. Not everything deserves your energy. Over time, this becomes easier. That gap becomes clearer. And what once felt automatic starts to feel optional. When you stop reacting instantly, your life becomes quieter. Not because the world changes, but because you do. You don't get pulled into every argument. You don't lose control over small things. You don't carry unnecessary tension with you all day. People notice it, not because you say anything, but because of what you don't do. You don't react the same way anymore. And that creates a different kind of presence. A calm strength. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything. The kind that chooses its response carefully. And over time, you realize something powerful. You were never trying to control the world. You were learning to control yourself. The next time something triggers you, pause. Not for long. Just long enough to notice what's happening inside you. Because that moment, right there, before you speak, before you react, before you move, is the moment most people lose control. And it's the moment where everything can change. You don't need perfect discipline. You don't need to suppress what you feel. You just need awareness. The awareness to see the impulse without obeying it. Because once you realize that you don't have to react instantly, you start to see something clearly. You were never powerless. You were just moving too fast to notice your power. Every reaction you hold back, every moment you choose silence over impulse, every time you respond instead of react, you're building something. A stronger mind, a calmer presence, a version of yourself that isn't controlled by every situation. And over time, that changes everything. Not just how you feel, but how you live. Because life doesn't become easier. You just become more steady. So the next time you feel that urge to react, stop. Notice it. Let it pass if it doesn't matter. Or respond with intention if it does. But don't give your control away so easily. Because the real question is not what happened to you. It's this. How often are you reacting without thinking? And what would your life look like if you finally stopped?